Hey guys, apologise if I sound a bit off. I am getting over a bit of a flu. Um, I just want to come on here today and talk about what is actually lost media. Because I've been seeing a lot on social media in the past couple of weeks, people referring to stuff as lost media. And it's not actually lost media. So I want to explain what lost media actually is, and then I'll try to explain what actually is lost media versus what is inaccessible media. So when I refer to lost media refers to something that is destroyed. All the copies of it are known to be gone. There is none to be believed to be still in existence. That is essentially a lost piece of media. When I think of lost pieces of media, I think of stuff like stuff that was shot on nitrate in the 1920s and 1910s, early black and white films, no sound cinema. A lot of that was burnt from nitrate when nitrate would catch fire. So a lot of that was destroyed. So in a lot of ways, that is lost media. There is no known copies of that known to still exist. Now, there could be a print that was made that was shipped overseas. You see this a lot where old movies thought to be lost for decades have turned back up. One of these, for example, was Lost in Fright, an Australian movie. That was thought to be lost for the longest time. We couldn't access the full movie, from my understanding. National Film and Sound Archive in Australia didn't have the full movie, from my understanding. But then it was found in like a French vault or something, and it was restored, brought back to Australia and restored. So a lot of this is lost media that is later found. So in a lot of ways, that is lost media. Another thing I got on right now is a Dragon Ball shirt. For the longest time, we all know Dragon Ball is one of the most protected shows of all time. I don't think it's any doubt that there is some copy of it somewhere. But for the longest time, the original broadcast audio, the one that had Masako Nozawa's voice, Goku and, Kid Gohan, her vocals and a lot of the Dragon Ball vocals, Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball, was thought to be lost audio. So we only had optical that was stored alongside the film prints. And optical is that crackling, it's what you see a lot in like old films. It has that crackling because the audio was not kept. The tapes that was used to record the original audio were destroyed or recorded or repurposed back over. So a lot of that was gone until film fans found, hey, we got all these videotapes recorded from, I believe, Tokyo Tower back in the day, and film fans had all these VHS tapes. They restored it back on the line, an online effort, to the footage, and now we have a partially restored Dragon Ball. And you see that sometimes on these French releases where they've put the audio back onto it and put it out. To date, I don't think Toei have ever done it. I don't think Funimation have ever done it. So you look at that and you say, okay, that's inaccessible media. So inaccessible media is a lot harder to grasp because it does exist. There are copies of it, but it does not exist. Like, you can't get it officially. And I will do another video on whether that's like piracy or not. Like, I'll talk about a piracy in another video. But I want to talk about that is not lost media. It has been partially restored. You can get it through unofficial means, but it is still there. The audio is still there. I believe Chris Sabat has the original broadcast audio, so someone in the official sphere of that has the original audio now, and it's not like off the VHS tapes, it's someone provided him with copies from the VHS tapes. So you see this and you start seeing a trend of inaccessible media. Now, what has sparked this video is I saw a post on Facebook, and it was about media that was thought to be destroyed or it's no longer accessible, so it must be lost. And it was regarding an episode of Neighbours, one that had the Wiggles in it. And initially I started saying, hold on one second, there is no way in hell this is a lost piece of media. And people might say, oh, but I can't watch it, so it's lost. I can't access it right now. It's not online. I can't watch it. So it must be lost. No, that's not how lost media works. Now, you might not be able to access it. That is definitely inaccessible media, but it is not lost. Now, you might say there's no copies online, so it's lost. There's no copies online. We don't believe any copies are floating around there. It's like someone might have recorded it off VHS tape back in the day, but other than that, we don't know if that copy exists. I can tell you right now, for a show like Neighbours, especially one in the early 2000s, everything's archived. It may be sitting on Betamax cams, it might be sitting in an archive on tape, ready to be digitized one day, but it's still there. The other thing with stuff like that is that rights can become another issue. When you're looking at the Wiggles, for example, you have Wiggles right there. Did they play any music in that episode of Neighbours? Did they sing any songs? Did they have performance rights? There is a lot of rights to come with a piece of media that's from 20, 30 years ago. It's not like, oh, good for broadcast. We're talking about the streaming age, which a lot of contracts don't plan for. You see it these days in Hollywood where they're Bruce Willis tried to protect his IP and or his intellectual property, which is his likeness and his voice, and he's selling that to AIs now. And we know about Bruce Willis. He's in bad health. We know that essentially a lot of what Bruce Willis is, he's still there, but he's I believe it's dementia or something. It's very sad. But when he was still in that span where he could make a decision like that, he said, "Yep, do what you want with my likeness. Just pay my family." But stuff like this, that's a performance right. It's like, okay, James Earl Jones negotiated the same deal with Darth Vader. Hey, do whatever you want with Star Wars. Just keep paying my family for the performance that I've done. And if you need to use the voice, then do it with AI, but just make sure that it's a performance thing. So performance rights could be a part of this. When the Wiggles episode of that media is no longer out there, of Neighbours, it doesn't mean it's being destroyed. It doesn't mean the Neighbours crew said, oh, we can't put this on a streaming service, so let's burn it and we'll burn every known copy known to man. It's still there. It's just not accessible to you. It's sitting in a vault probably somewhere, probably at National Film and Sound Archive, maybe somewhere. And I can almost guarantee for an episode of that significance, Neighbours with a crossover with the Wiggles, there's probably some significant heritage sort of thing that would be in the National Film and Sound Archive. Now, whether you can access it is a different question. It's somewhere. But more likely it's in a vault somewhere. It's somewhere with all the Neighbours tapes just sitting along shelves, ready to be digitized, probably, and you think about Neighbours going for what, 30, 40 years at this point, maybe even 50, who knows how long Neighbours has been on air for. To digitize all that media, it's going to be a lot. Actually, I think Neighbours came on air in the 80s, so what's that, like almost 50 years almost, or 40 years? So you start looking at, hey, why would we just digitize one episode when we don't have the whole season around it? And you might say significant heritage. Who knows how that tape's being housed, where it's being housed, but no doubt it still exists. Now back to the topic. Inaccessible media is what that is. It still exists. Somewhere it still exists. There is no doubt in my mind that the original master, the original recording master, that would still exist somewhere. They're not going to just delete Wiggles tapes. They're not going to delete a Neighbours tape. So that's sitting in some vault somewhere. Maybe in Wiggles HQ, maybe in Neighbours HQ, maybe somewhere maybe Amazon have all the tapes, but they can't digitize it. And you might say, oh, but Amazon have unlimited resources. How many people are going to watch that episode? Unless they do some sort of significant thing, and then you'd have to renegotiate, hey, it's a digital streaming service. How do we get the Wiggles on board? Obviously, the Wiggles might have deals with Disney, so you have all these complicated rights. This is where it all becomes complicated. It is not lost media. It's not like they burnt the copy and said, no one's ever going to view this episode again, burn it or record over it. Now, that is what happened with Doctor Who. Now, I don't watch Doctor Who. I can't talk for which Doctor it was or what era it was. All I know is that in the early days of Doctor Who, it was recorded to maybe tape, I believe, or the eras that were recorded to tape were recorded back over or deleted or erased. And so you have whole eras, whole years of Doctor Who where those errors are gone. And this was before VHS recording. This was before VHS recorders were common. So like 60s or 70s era might be lost media. That is where, you can't get those back anymore. The performances are gone. Same thing with Nitrate film. When those burnt up and there was no print overseas or nothing, they never made a print of it, that is lost media. So lost media is truly lost. It means you can't restore it. It's not sitting in some vault overseas. There was never a print made. We believe all copies of it, known to exist, are no longer existing. Also, I think of a scenario where Bruno Sammartino wrestled an orangutan. I'm a wrestling fan, so I think of a scenario like that. There is an infamous match out there. We've seen, apparently, the still frames that still exist from it, where people took a still frame and said, hey, this is a thing. But there is no known... It was recorded to film. It was broadcast back in the day, perhaps. But my understanding for that is that the company that produced that, the wrestling company that produced that, threw it in the New York River or something. That's what the speculation is. Apparently it was discarded in a river, and, the reels might still be at the bottom of the river, but film would have been, salt water, it's going to break it down over time. That is lost media. So I'm just trying to hammer home here the difference between lost media and inaccessible media. So just because you can't access it doesn't mean it's lost media. And I know this got me a bit riled up, sorry, I know I'm coming on as a bit of a rant, but I just need to educate people because it's mind-boggling that we call lost media everything that we can't have access to. Oh, you know that film from BBC about 5-10 years ago about Rockstar Games with Daniel Radcliffe? That is lost media. It's inaccessible media. There's no doubt in my mind that the copy, I don't think it would have been destroyed. Yes, they got sued over it. Rockstar Games sued BBC over it. I don't know if they were ordered to destroy all copies of it. I don't believe that would be the case. I believe it would be housed in a vault somewhere, never to be re-released. I believe that would be the more clear scenario. But I believe that would still be in existence in a vault somewhere. Now, there are copies of it out there online. I've definitely seen the movie. If you downloaded it before that was yanked offline, then you can still have access to the movie. Now, seeding it back onto line is a bit of a piracy thing. It's a bit of a complicated issue if you were seeding it back online. But that is where piracy picks up. But also, that is not lost media. It's still accessible. I can still watch the movie. People can still watch the movie. If you downloaded it from BBC back in the day before they pulled the episode, you still have a copy of that. Now, necessarily, that doesn't mean you can reshare it. It doesn't mean you can say, hey, I've got it on a disc, here it is. No, you can't do that. You can just say, I've seen it. I still have access to it. I don't believe I can ever share it with anyone. But it's a cautious thing, you know. You be cautious. You make sure that, hey, there's a lot of copies out there online. This is what happens. Dragon Ball's broadcast audio is out there online. And if it's not accessible through the official means, this is where piracy enters. I'm looking, for example, at Star Wars. Now, I've talked a lot about Star Wars on this channel, and people say, oh, the original versions of Star Wars, when Lucas was editing the 1997 special editions, he destroyed the original negatives. Okay, but there are millions of prints out there. Who knows, I think Lucas bought back a lot of the prints and then burnt them or something. But there's still prints out there. There was one that got scanned, and that's what's getting used for stuff like 4K 77. That's what's getting used for stuff like, you know, the despecialized editions. There are still media out there from prior to those, like VHS tapes, like laser discs, that can still be watched as close to the original form as possible. That's not lost media. That's inaccessible media. So that is what it is. It doesn't mean that every copy of Star Wars has been destroyed because Lucas cut up those negatives. Yes, the original negative might be destroyed, but there are still a lot of different copies out there of what the film was. Now, it's a lot harder to restore. I get it. It's a Disney thing. They said they're restoring it. Apparently, there's speculation online whether they're going to restore it and re-release it in 2027 for 50 years. It'll be cool to see it in its original form, but I'm not holding my breath for that one. I'll believe it when I see it. But also, that is not a issue of, hey, it's lost. That is an issue of, hey, we just haven't found where it is. There's a lot of copies out there online. There's a lot of copies on VHS tape. We've got the original core from the 2006. People like Despecialized and 4K 77 have restored a lot of this stuff. You can get it. Now, that's a complicated issue because it does pull into some interpretation of what piracy is. I'm not encouraging piracy. But also, if you were, I'll get into the complicated rights issue about that in another video, but like, if you were to watch Star Wars Despecialized, you would need to probably own like 4K versions, or maybe even like some version of Star Wars that you intend. Like if you're downloading 1080p, you should probably own the Blu-rays. If you're downloading 4K, you should probably own the 4Ks. You know, money should be going to the corporation. Even though it's Disney, we should be paying the people who own it. But then the way you interact with your media is up to you. But I'll talk about all that in another video. Let me know what you thought about this in a thing. I'll put a couple of end screens. What do you think about lost media versus inaccessible media? Because I see people using it interchangeably, and it's really, really annoying when you know this isn't lost. It's in a vault somewhere. It's probably sitting in a temperature-controlled vault, ready to be digitized, but no one has the resources to digitize. Let me know what you think. Do you use them interchangeably? And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.